Hi, delighted to be able to join you virtually today for Voice Global. So today I'm going to talk to you about how voice technology can transform a child's reading journey. So just very briefly, my own background. I'm an engineer. I've been working in the space of speech recognition, machine learning, and AI for over 20 years. I have a PhD in speech recognition. I've worked in IBM Research and Bell Labs, and I worked in Bell Labs up until 2013, when I left and I founded SoapBox Labs. So SoapBox Labs, we are voice tech for kids. So we've spent over 7 years developing our proprietary speech technology. As I said, I'd been working in the space for so long, but it wasn't until I was observing my own daughter, who was 3 at the time, interacting with apps and web services that were designed for children. And these apps were designed to teach a child how to read. I was doing that normal parent thing where you give a child an education app to leave your own guilt and make sure that when they're spending time on screens, they're actually doing something of worth. But what I was observing was, while these apps were trying to teach her to read, I noticed that the only way they had to assess her progress and her ability to pick up what they were trying to teach her was to give her multiple choice. So all they could do is play her a sound or a word, and then give her multiple choice and see whether she could associate that sound with the written word. So it got me thinking that that's actually not how adults or parents or teachers actually teach a child to read. What we do is we want to be able to listen to the child and see if they can recall a sound and whether they can actually pronounce it correctly. So when I was looking at these apps and looking at these language learning apps, it really struck me that the missing component for them was voice technology. So when I started to do a little research into this, I was like, well, why is it? Why has voice technology back in 2013 even not been focused on and researched enough? While we had been making great progress by this point in 2013 in speech technology, this technology didn't seem to exist in educational products. And what I came to realize is that I'd actually spent my whole career working in the area of adult speech recognition, actually, and indeed most people have. People tend to focus on what they perceive as the bigger problem, the bigger demographic, which is adults, and completely overlooking, arguably, 20% of the population that have very different needs and very different attributes that need to be accommodated if you're going to build a speech recognition system for children. So we've spent 7 years laser focused on this problem. And what we set out to do in our mission was to be able to deliver voice technology that actually works for kids as young as 2 and up to 12, because that was the gap that I saw in the market at the time. And it was the gap that I really think needs to be shored up in order to be able to make progress and apply any form of AI and machine learning in the area of literacy and language learning. So what we've set out to do is to build this. We've been laser focused for a long time now, 7 years, and we've accumulated an amazing team of experts. Together, we've over 100 years experience in the area of speech recognition, expertise in the company specifically focused on children. And as a result, we are the benchmark for accuracy and privacy in the market for children's speech recognition. There are huge market opportunities in this space across education and entertainment and consumer. But in this talk, we're going to focus primarily on the educational aspects of the system and our use cases. So we're a voice first company. We're a kids first company, and they are two very big areas that are just exploding right now. We're at the nexus of kid tech and voice tech. At the moment, we are an independent speech recognition company. That means we are not associated with any big tech. It also means that we've no competing business models. So as an independent provider of speech recognition, we don't have any other business model outside of speech recognition. And therefore, our system and our motivations and bringing this to market are solely around improving and bringing out the best possible speech technology for children in the market. We have built it specifically from the ground up. We have been privacy first, privacy focused from day one. And what that meant was, back in 2013, I realized what it takes to build an AI system, a machine learning system. And data is critical to that. But as a parent, I also realized that, data is sensitive for all of us. And we all know that data privacy and the sensitivities around that, but particularly when it comes to our kids. And recognizing that from our genesis in 2013 was the fact that we were going to have to tackle this as a privacy first, in a privacy first way, which meant it wasn't cheaper. It wasn't quicker to do it that way. But we really believed that if we did it and we took our time and we built this very deliberately, we built in privacy from the get-go, that we would be able to stand over this product for years to come, and we can, and we're very proud of that. So not only are we now known for our accuracy, but also our privacy stance. And that to us as an independent provider of speech recognition is critical. So a lot of times we get asked, one of the first questions we get asked is, why do you focus on children's speech recognition? Why do you focus on kids? Why won't adult tech work for children? So there's a number of different reasons for this. It's physical in the first place. It's that children's voices are different. They have shorter, thinner vocal tracts, smaller vocal folds. And that makes sense, right? So under the age of 12, it'd be well known that speech starts to be very different to adults. And that's when the physical differences start to manifest. And what you find is from age 12 all the way down to a 2-year-old, the changes in the physical dimensions of the vocal tract and the vocal cords, these differences from adults just increase and increase. And what we find is that speech recognition that has been built and modeling adult voices starts to have more and more problems as the child is younger. That's only one side of it. What's also very particular is that children have very different language than adults. Adults tend to follow language structures, quite well, whereas as children get younger and younger, the rules of language and the structures tend to change, and they change. Kids don't use the same sentence structure and the same vocabulary and the same nuances that adults do, and indeed even older children. And their behaviors are vastly different. I mean, adults tend to be just so much more compliant when they're interacting with technology, or even the variability between adults tends to be less. With children, we find there is huge variability in their behaviors. They sing, they whisper, they shout, they elongate their words, they over-enunciate, they over-punctuate, and all these things coupled with the physical differences really just mess with a system that's been designed for adults. It's been built modeling adult voices and adult behaviors and adult language structures. So when a child starts to try and use these systems, they fall apart. They were never designed for them. And what some people have been known to do to address this is just to think of it as, it's just like, we'll do a side of kids later. And what they try and do is then add a bit of kids' data later to it and hope that it works for kids. That tends not to work very well. What people also do is try and take adult data and then perform some kind of modifications to the acoustic voices. And that can involve making them sound squeakier or pitching them up. And they think because those physical differences exist between adult and children, that's enough. But what you find is those types of tweaks and hacks just will never cut it. They'll never break 80% accuracy, and that's just not good enough in today's world. Of the expectations we have of AI, machine learning, voice technology is so much higher because adults have such a good experience when they interact with technology. Why can't the kids? And that expectation is there, and it should be. And if you don't address this problem, as we have done in SoapBox Labs, which is built a child-specific solution from the ground up, using state-of-the-art technologies and approaches, you will never get the accuracy that adults are experiencing. So, and that's a very big differentiator in our technology, and very much the driving force behind why we did this, why we built it, why we embarked on this journey. The environments that kids are in tend to be very different to adults as well. Kids, and especially the younger the child, are never alone. They tend to there's always noise in the background, right? So that whether it's other siblings, whether it's a TV or dogs barking, or adults, in the kitchen or talking among themselves, or whether they're in the classroom or in any of these environments, they tend to be very different to adult environments as well. So again, to build a system and to bring it to market and expect it to work in the real world, all these environments, voices, language, behaviors need to be coped with. So as far as we were concerned in the very beginning, there was no point bringing a speech technology for kids to the market if we couldn't handle all of those things. Indeed, we didn't see the need to have headset mics, USB headset mics. Try and get a 4-year-old or a 5-year-old or 6-year-old to sit there patiently and quietly, not fidget and touch these devices is extremely hard. We wanted it to work on smartphones and tablets and Chromebooks and laptops, and all the technology interactions that kids have today. And again, if we couldn't do it, it wasn't worth doing it. So we set the bar extremely high for ourselves. We wanted to be able to deal with voices from kids as young as 2. We wanted to be able to work in real world noise environments. We needed it to work without headset mics that complicate. And that's not how kids interact with technology anyway these days. And in order to be able to do all those, it took many years of research and development, to be able to get it to the point where we have accuracy that is as good as what the adults are experiencing today. And that's critical to us. And like I spoke also about, was the privacy needs. Again, you can't just treat the data from kids as if it was data from an adult. We need to have differentiated privacy around children, and that is ensuring that their data will never be sold or used for advertising or used for product placement. And all those things are critical in order to be able to be successful in this market. And that's what we set out to do, and that's what we set out to deliver. And that's what we have delivered. And it's 2020, and we still find ourselves pretty much standing alone in this market and all those key factors. So I want to play for you now is a video to kind of illustrate the differences from adult voices and male and female voices, and a child age 10, a child age 7, and a child age 4. So you can actually see these differences in and why we need to focus on kids, particularly under the age of 12, because they are so different from adults.
Umbrella.
Umbrella. Umbrella. Umbrella. Umbrella.
What you've seen in that video there is actually a normalized spectral demonstration of what the voice is. So it doesn't matter how loud somebody speaks, this is more about the information in the frequencies. So you'll see that regardless how loud anybody's spoken in that, the existence of information in the higher frequencies is so much more the younger and younger the child. And that is why SoapBox Labs has focused so much on younger children's speech, because it is so different. And like I said earlier, simply doing an adaptation of adult's voice is not sufficient. There's lost information that you'll never recover otherwise. So just to point out on accuracy then, what does this really mean for accuracy? When we're talking, and particularly in education, accuracy can't be hit and miss. It can't be average. It can't be mediocre. The experiences, as I said, adults are having today with voice technology need to be mirrored. And what happened was that voice technology never really took off and never got that mass adoption until the accuracy was there. And we're experiencing this now with kids. it is with the technology SoapBox Labs have brought to market that we're actually seeing this tipping point. And now all of a sudden we're seeing people saying, okay, now it's useful. Now I can see a lack of frustration. And I just wanted to point out what happens when that accuracy is not there. If you have, you drop the bar too far. So you say, okay, we're not doing a great job with adults, with kids using our technologies. What we'll do is we'll pass everything. So what happens is the child in an educational scenario tries to read something, or does a pronunciation, or tries to recall a sound or word, or tries to do a fluency exercise. And what happens is if the bar is too low, we get an awful lot of false positives. And false positives when you're telling a kid they're right when they're actually wrong. And that can be detrimental in education things. What you're actually doing is reinforcing errors. And too many false positives, the parents and the teachers and the kids are going to know that this is not an educational product, and eventually people will just not use it. On the other hand, if you have not great models and the technology is not working very well, but you're still setting that bar and you're telling a kid that they're actually wrong when they're right, so it's a false negative, that's detrimental to their confidence. And anybody who has a kid or have seen kids using some kind of feedback mechanisms like this, or even if you just tell a kid that they're wrong when they're right, you see the indignation and you see the frustration, and actually, you can actually, chip away at a child's confidence by telling them they're wrong when they're right. So it's really important that we don't do either of those things. And that's what we've sought to do over these years. And that's why we spend so many years laser focused on this problem, because we didn't think false negatives or false positives should be in a product that's brought for kids, and particularly in education. So whether it's an entertainment product where you're giving a kid a canned answer all the time because you just don't understand what they're saying, the system doesn't understand what they're saying, or in education when you're encountering these quite important feedback mechanisms, accuracy is key. And that's why SoapBox Labs has focused so much on it, and it was an absolute priority for us to bring this. And we stand head and shoulders above anyone else in the market in this. And that's been critical to our success to date. So our vision is now coming to fruition. We have a long list of prestigious clients to prove it. A good example is the Florida Center for Reading Research. Dr. Yakov Petra has been integrating our technology in their project there, and has noted that our own technology has actually works for kids, and it's so refreshing for us to get our technology in such a prestigious project, but also to be able to voice enable them to be able to do their research, and that's been critical for us. We've got 30 global licenses within commercial entities as well as academic bodies across the world in both entertainment and education. But today we're going to just talk more about the education. I just want to bring it back a little bit, just discuss what is a child's reading journey. I think most people will be familiar with this, but it's just good to walk through it, because the research and the expertise is out there on how you develop a child's reading journey. And if you look at the ambition is that a child is reading fluently and being able to do comprehension by, let's say, age 8 or grade 3, or in around that. And some kids are going to have a longer reading journey than others, and other kids are going to accelerate a lot more. But they all go on this path, and it starts with language development. Exposing a child to rich language very early on is really, really important. And then we move to phonemic awareness, where a kid learns without anything to do with the written word. It's phonemic awareness, where they think they learn about syllables, that monkey is monkey, that cat is cat. So again, before the written word, but these are like games and practices that have been shown to demonstrate that a child's future reading success are key to be able to learning this phonemic awareness at an early stage. And then eventually the kids start to learn that these sounds that they've been learning have got letter representations, and this is phonics or letter sounds, it's called. And kids can now see that cat is associated with CAT, and they learn to blend and they learn to decode, and it's a very successful approach to teaching kids to read. And then kids, once they start to get stronger and stronger, and they can still be using phonics to help their reading, they move to words, and then sentences, and then longer sentences, until we reach ideally we reach fluency, where that means a kid is able to read effortlessly and be able to comprehend what they're reading while they're reading as well, which is a really important point. And at that point, it's kind of deemed that a child stops learning to read and starts reading to learn. And that journey, that reading journey, is so critical to their future success in life in general. Experts are in agreement. There's so much amazing research out there about how we help kids on this reading journey. We need to start early. We need to screen and catch kids for reading difficulties. And we can do that at a really early stage, even before they ever learn to read. Strong indicators of reading difficulties like dyslexia are possible before a kid ever learns to read. We know that practice is really important. The more practice, 15 minutes a day of reading aloud, can really accelerate a child's reading journey. We know that a frequent assessment is really important. So frequent can be formative assessment, where it's ongoing informal assessment, or it can be summative assessment at several points during the year. And assessment is always to catch a kid before they fall behind their peers, because we know it can take so much longer to intervene with an older child than a younger child. If you can catch a kid quickly as they're falling behind their peers and catch them up, that's so much quicker and more successful than a child not being caught for a long period of time. So the more we can assess, the more successful the outcomes, and the interventions then can be put into place in order to be able to catch the child up. So all these things are in place, but what often the classroom struggles with is not being able to deliver on these as frequently as we would like to. Teachers just being overstretched in the classroom, teachers not having enough resources, crowded classrooms. But it's really key. We know if we could do this, we would have much better outcomes with our kids. And across the board, we're seeing more and more acceptance and more awareness, and more clients coming to us knowing that voice technology can help in all stages of the reading journey. So it can enable practice. And that is that a child is reading aloud, and it can give immediate feedback to the child as they're reading. And that's really rewarding for the child. It can help, just as a helpful adult would do, is sitting alongside the child, listening, correcting, prompting, encouraging, and all the while somewhat assessing the background. But our technology can do that for the children. But all the while, it can also deliver progress data back to parents and teachers. And these data points can be used for longitudinal information, for immediate intervention flagging. It can be used to just assess kids as they're progressing, or even for teachers and parents to know that kids are practicing and they are reading and they're doing their work. And this is particularly obviously of interest with this COVID-19, this remote distance learning that we're all going through at the moment. And this has become more and more important to be able to know how the progress and how the kids are doing at home as well as in the classroom. And our voice technology can also enable formative and summative assessments. So what we assess, phonics. Phonics are letter sounds, words, sentences, and we can do this. We can assess their pronunciation right down to the phoneme level, and that's really important, especially in the early stages of learning to read. But we can also assess a kid's reading fluency, and this includes deletions and substitutions and insertions. And to do all these things accurately, and to be able to attain human level of assessment is really important, and that's where we build our trust with our clients and the teachers who use our clients' products, and the kids and the parents that are using them. And this is key to SoapBox Labs, what we bring to the market. So what I want to play for you now is a couple of examples of how our technology works in our clients' products.
Can you tell Hush what this is? Can you say, this is a pencil?
This is a pencil. 你看我好高 ，happy.
Well done.
Nice job. Try that once again.
It is lots of dogs.
Try again.
It is lots of fun.
Yay!
old woman and a little old man.
So I just want to give you a quick overview of our proprietary technology. So we are the engine that voice enables third-party products and services. So we do this across education, toys, robotics, IoT, and entertainment. Our clients' products are the ones that interact with the child, and all the while we have cloud and edge offline and edge AI solutions that can deliver a variety of different technologies when it comes to voice control or conversation, assessment, whether it's for English language learning or it's for literacy, practice, training, all these multi-choice assessment, all these things that we can deliver with our underlying technology. SoapBox Labs technology is what powers your education product. We stick to what we're good at. We're voice technology experts, and we license our technology out to third parties to integrate into your products and services for children. So that transforms a literacy product, a language learning product, and superpowers with voice technology. And what it does is create a really engaging experience for the child. That immediate feedback is so rewarding for the kid and keeps them engaged and keeps them coming back, and it keeps having that kind of independence and autonomy that's not possible in a reading product or a language learning product without voice technology. What's really key here is and it's something I feel really strongly about, is that it is really hard to imagine a future where voice isn't a key feature in all kids' learning tools, games, device, and experience. We know it's gone that way for adults. It makes sense that it's going to go that way that we need to go that way for kids. But unfortunately, the technology at the accuracy that's necessary and not to frustrate children has not been there to date. And SoapBox Labs is very proud to bring these products to market now that we believe will transform and provide a huge step change in how we deliver particularly literacy and language learning products to the market.